show do not necessarily represent those of the management of KUCI or the UC Board of Regents. For more information about this show, go to kuci.org.
Hello, this is Nima Golbai on KUCI 88.9 Irvine. This is the new time slot for my show, Rollercoaster in the Clouds, and we got an hour today. And on my last show, I did say that I'd probably be reviewing 12 Monkeys soon, and I brought on one of my friends who's been on the show before. We call him RB. So say hi.
Hi everyone, I'm RB. I'm happy to be on the show today.
All right, thank you for joining us. And this is our first live show. You get to see the studio. What do you think of the studio?
Oh, it's very nice. It's a different room than I was in before when I was on the show, and this is my first time on the show, so I'm excited for this experience today.
Thank you. All right, so we watched this movie about a week ago. I saw it a second time, but you've got a lot of notes. But I will use the IMDb plot synopsis to guide us along. All right, but we should probably first talk about like who's it directed by, who's in it. So this movie is directed by Terry Gilliam, and I think you've seen Holy Grail, right?
I have actually a long time ago, but that movie and 12 Monkeys are the only ones that I've seen from Terry Gilliam.
Yeah, I've seen Brazil and 12 Monkeys in like somewhat recent times, but like I'd say 10 years ago, if not maybe a bit less or a bit more, I saw Life of Brian, Holy Grail, and Meaning of Life. I was quite young, so I don't really remember too much about those. However, I know they're good movies. And Terry Gilliam has like a very weird, quirky style. Like it's like kind of there's something about it that's like David Lynch, but not David Lynch. And then it's kind of just like I don't know if I can say this on air, but I don't think I can say. It's like he's drunk, let's say. Like some things are just very weird and quirky and surreal. And what do you think about his overall style?
I agree. I think a lot of the movies, at least the ones that I've seen from him, I feel like you're almost dreaming in a way, and it's definitely surreal. And yeah, it makes for a very it makes for a memorable experience, I would say, for the movies.
It does. They're very like unique, and so getting into a bit more of how he achieves that, I think that he does a great job like world building and making you sort of like sink into this world and this idea he's made. And just from like the beginning of the film where we see them living underground with all the cages and stuff, it's very well done and it looks the part. And but like certain things like the suit he goes into, the plastic suit, is like so it's like over the top and stuff, where it like has a bit of quirkiness. And then he goes out into I guess we should say this in the synopsis, but essentially the whole beginning of the film is like they live underground because of a virus, and the film sort of begins with a quote from like a supposedly schizophrenic patient who predicts this virus. And they have to keep sending someone out to like test the bugs to see if they have the virus in them. So he goes and does that, and what I really liked about this is it just felt like quality filmmaking, because they showed like a Baltimore that was deserted and abandoned and basically like an apocalypse, but there was no like ugly CGI. It was all like done practically, and on top of it, it didn't look like they were hiding the city through like, close shots. It looked really good. And you can talk about that a bit.
Definitely. And I think that It's all, since this was made in 1995, it was everything's practical. There's no, I mean, I don't think there is any CGI in the film. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's all very realistic, and you get that that sense as you're watching the movie. It's very well done. A lot of attention to detail, and yes, as you said, the costumes and everything are kind of quirky, but it also does feel like it's not too quirky where it just feels like you're confused as to what you're watching. So he kind of finds a good balance of quirkiness and kind of normalcy.
And this film like sets up in that opening kind of couple of scenes where he goes out onto the surface of the earth. Does what every dream movie has to do, which I've been realizing is a dream movie needs to present like certain images to the audience and then repeat them somewhere down the line. Like the bear that like attacks him, or the lion standing on top of the building, or when he goes into the old department store and the birds go up, or the Christmas music playing. All those things are repeated down the line in the movie, and that's essential for a dream movie because it basically mimics how our dreams really are, where it's like a loop. And it's also kind of eerie when you watch it, and you don't know exactly what it means. Like, it could mean that, oh, he's crazy and he's like hallucinating and it's all fake, or it could mean something else. I don't know. It couldn't be like symbolism of some kind, but it's very interpretive. But when you actually watch it, it adds to like the overall eeriness, but it also makes it feel surreal, and it makes it it just makes it interpretive. And I guess, like Christopher Nolan says, feel it, don't try to understand it, or whatever he says. And like Lynch has kind of said the same thing, where like a dream movie is supposed to be felt, and I do think that's largely true for this film. Do you have anything to say?
I agree with the point you made about repetition. I think there are a lot of instances where things are repeated in the film, as the ones you mentioned, definitely, and also the one sequence in the airport, which I'm sure we'll discuss in detail, is repeated multiple times, and it really does feel like like a surreal kind of experience, a very dreamlike one.
Well, the film opens on the kid's eyes, right?
It does, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
It opens and closes on the same shot.
That's very true.
Like a dream. Repeating.
Yeah.
So, and we should say, I'll read the next paragraph of the synopsis. It says, to earn a pardon, Cole allows scientists to send them on dangerous missions to the past to collect information on the virus thought to be released by a terrorist organization known as the Army of the 12 Monkeys. And essentially, they think this because the 12 Monkeys have like graffiti things all over Baltimore that says like their symbol and like we did it. So that's why they think that, and if possible, he is to obtain a pure sample of the original virus so a cure can be made. And then we're introduced to the dream at the airport. Cole is troubled with recurring dreams involving a chase and a shooting at an airport. And we don't really know what is going on at first when we first see it. We don't know if this is him as a child or what's happening. And, it's like slowly but surely this dream gets slowly filled out, and you see more and more until the end of the film where you get to see what it really is. Thoughts on the dream?
I think, yes, the dream, I would say that the repetition sort of builds a sense of anticipation. I think you almost expect like this dream to be like an actual part of the plot, like eventually in the movie, which does happen. Um, but I do find it interesting that um, the dream sequence has like there's one time where I think um, one of the characters is replaced by Brad Pitt's character, and it's only once in it's only in one of those repetitions of the dream sequence. So
Oh yeah.
I think it really confuses us as audience members, and it really makes us feel kind of off kilter in a sense, and not sure what's gives us a sense of uncertainty.
Yeah. So then we get into like the meat of the film, which is he goes back in time. It's supposed to be 1996, but he quickly finds out he's in 1990, and I love this whole concept, and it was very cool. And he's basically arrested for creating a public nuisance and doesn't have any ID on him. He's hospitalized in a mental institution on the diagnosis of Dr. Kathleen Rayleigh. I don't know if it's Rayleigh or Raleigh.
I think it's Rayleigh.
Rayleigh. And this is sort of kind of like mimicking his life underground, because he's also now in a prison again. And essentially, okay, this reminded me a lot of Twilight Zone. This whole movie is very much like a Twilight Zone premise. The guy that goes back and has secret knowledge of the future, yet no one believes him, but he turns out to be right in the end. This is like a total Twilight Zone plot, and that's why I love it. So he goes down there and he's like saying like, I live underground, and he's supposed to be in 1996. And there he encounters Jeffrey Goins, played by Brad Pitt, a fellow mental patient with fanatic animal rights and anti-consumerist leanings. Okay, so we gotta talk about Brad Pitt. Talk about Brad Pitt.
Yeah. So it's a very well. We're introduced to Brad Pitt in the mental institution, and I mean, I think for anyone who has seen any amount of Brad Pitt movies, this is very unusual for his performance, and honestly, it's very surprising to see him be able to play the character that he plays in this movie. He does a great job. It's very quirky, and it's very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, and every time you see him, you kind of get like lost in what he's saying, but also like entranced, because he's so, intoxicating. And so after Jeffrey Goins, played by Brad Pitt, like goes on this whole rant, and he goes crazy when Cole comes in, there's the next scene where Cole is interviewed by a panel of doctors, and this mimics the panel of doctors underground.
Yes.
So there's a lot of like, beyond like repetitive imagery, like directly, there's some like partially repetitive imagery. Like there's the panel of doctors underground, and then there's the panel of doctors in the past above ground.
Yes, and it kind of it's always like it gives you a sense that like everyone is kind of against Cole, because there's this huge panel of doctors who's not believing him in the underground, or in the mental institution, and then he's he's the only person who these people are, who humanity is relying on in the future, but everyone's doubting him.
Yep. And so he basically explains that the virus outbreak has already happened and cannot be prevented, which sets up this premise that he cannot change the future. And this is a premise I actually disagree with, especially towards the end, but we'll get into that.
Interesting.
He sort of says it as like a fact, like it's just true, he can't prevent it. He says that the army will be released by the Army of the 12 Monkeys in 1996, and by 1997 only 1% of the human population will survive. He says that he was sent for the wrong time and begs to make one telephone call to sort this all out. He tries unsuccessfully to leave a voicemail on a number monitored by the scientists in the future. So this is how they communicate, through the voicemails, basically. They leave. And although the number is not being monitored in 1990, so it's the wrong number, and he can't get any message back to the future.
Right. So it's a smart way, I mean, to, I guess, have that communication between different points in time. Yeah, should we move on to the next section of the film?
Yeah. So this is a great scene where Jeffrey gives him the key to escape. It's very funny. But before that, we have to talk about they're watching something on TV, and like it's about animal testing, and Cole says something to Jeffrey like, we probably deserve it. The whole human race has to be destroyed. Like, he says that to Jeffrey, and that becomes important later in the film. But anyway, Jeffrey gives him the key to escape, and there's a great scene where he's been injected with like medications, and he's very drowsy, and he's trying to escape, and he sort of stumbles his way through this mental asylum, and he's essentially restrained, locked in a cell, and then he just disappears. And like the doctors, in the mental asylum, like come in, and they're like, "You're telling me that a restrained patient like got out and then climbed up the ceiling and went out the vent?" So they're like, "What happened to this guy?" But now we're back. Do you want to say anything about that, or should we move on?
No, it's a good scene. It's very like chaotic while he's under the influence of those medications, and I think one interesting part of the cinematography there, and I think also it's used when he first meets Goins, which is Brad Pitt's character. Yeah, they use Dutch tilts pretty frequently in that scene, and it sort of contributes to a further sense of unease and kind of anxiety. It's a really effective technique, in my opinion, for cinematography, and I think it's used very well in that movie, in that scene particularly.
Okay, so now we're back in his own time, and he finds himself in a similar predicament. He's like locked down and being interviewed by these strange doctors, who are like, they're just really weird. But back in his own time, Cole is interviewed by the scientists, who play a distorted voicemail message which gives the location of the Army of the Monkeys and states that they are responsible for the virus. Cole says that he did not leave the voicemail and he was in the wrong year. So basically, he's seeing a voicemail he left that hasn't happened in the movie yet, and it becomes clear as you watch.
Yeah. So it's also, it creates a further like sense of doubt, because now you have even the own the own protagonist himself is not. He doesn't know what is his own doing, essentially.
All right, so so Cole says that he did not leave the voicemail and he was in the wrong year. He is also shown photos of numerous people suspected of being involved, including Jeffrey Goins. And I really liked this part. It was, once again, kind of eerie. Like, he's shown pictures from just before the virus broke out, and he's, like, seeing people he knows. And that was a bit, like, unsettling. Because you don't know if Jeffrey's just this crazy guy that's kind of, like, lovable, but also crazy, or is he like actually evil? And you want to like Jeffrey, but it seems like he's involved in the mass extermination of humanity at this point in the film. And do you want to say something?
No, I'm just curious. Like, did you think that Goins was culpable for the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you?
At this point of the film, yes, I thought it was pretty clear, but I still knew that there was still some, like, we need to keep watching the film to wait and see, because there's so much that's unknown.
Yeah. So the scientists offer Cole another chance to complete his mission and send him back in time. Cole briefly arrives at a battlefield in World War I. And this is, like, very random and very chaotic, and you have no idea what's going on. And you're like, in my head, I was like, wait, is this like a World War movie now? I was worried.
Yeah, no, it's a very abrupt change of the of scenery, and it's. I guess I kind of enjoyed it because it is a time travel movie, and then. All of a sudden being taken to World War One, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
It reminded me of Paths of Glory, which I think is his favorite film.
Yes, yeah, it is one of his favorite films. I know I saw that, I believe on
Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah,
yes,
I saw it too.
Yeah, Terry Gilliam likes that movie.
What are them? They're like, it's Pinocchio from the 1940s, Paths of Glory.
Let me look.
And then it was like 8.5.
Which makes sense too. Very surreal.
And there was like 2 others. I don't know. You can give it to me.
Pinocchio, Paths of Glory, Citizen Kane, Seven Seal, Seven Samurai, 8.5. So all very common picks for a filmmaker, I guess.
Yeah. Pinocchio is pretty unique though.
Oh yeah. And Paths of Glory too. I don't hear that one very often.
Yeah. So yeah, he's like in World War One, and then he sees another prison inmate who was sent back in time named Jose, and he's like shot in the leg, and they talk for a second, but then he gets transported finally to 1996. And this is one of my favorite points on the film. I think it's a very effective technique where Rayleigh is giving a lecture about this thing called the Cassandra complex, which is a complex or a psychological phenomenon that describes when a person accurately predicts the future of a crisis but is ignored or dismissed. The term comes from the Greek mythological figure Cassandra, who was given the gift of prophecy by Apollo, but was cursed so that no one would believe her. So I really like this because and this happens twice in the film. At this scene and the scene where they watch Vertigo.
Oh, right.
It's sort of like a meta, and I don't like when things are meta sometimes, but this was really cool. It's like a meta, like, nudge to the audience, like, oh, this is what the film's about. And it's really, like, effective because it succinctly captures what you're watching in, like, a non-obscure, dream-like way. So it's sort of like, it helps your brain sort of gain some control of what you're watching. And then it also is just really well written. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. No, and I think that the Cassandra complex, it sums up the movie very well up to this point, because obviously main character is he has knowledge of the future and what is going to happen to humanity, and everyone is doubting him. And yeah, we'll talk more about the other references later, like Vertigo.
Yeah. So at the post-lecture book signing, she meets Dr. Peters, who's this redhead guy who tells her that apocalypse alarmists represent the sane vision, while humanity's gradual destruction of the environment is real lunacy. So she meets basically this guy who's like an environmental extremist, and he basically thinks like humans are the enemy. And when you're watching it, you just like pass it up. You don't really know who he is. You just think he's a background character. Anything about this part? Oh, we talked about most of it.
Yeah, no, nothing really that important, but yeah, I think I think environmentalism is definitely a theme of this movie, but it's it's kind of, I'm not sure what's if that was like a major intention of Terry Gilliam or not, so I'd have to.
I definitely think it is. It shows like how environmentalism can be radicalized, I guess, against humanity, I think. You could say Thanos was a radical environmentalist.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Well,
He's concerned with the exploitation of natural resources.
that's true. Yeah.
Kills half the people, lower the carbon
Of course, yeah.
content.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cole arrives at the venue, and all this is shot very well, I must say. And I'm very much enjoying the film at this point, and I'm like, oh, I love this premise. I like that he was the escaped prisoner, but now he's coming back. And how is she and people that knew him in that asylum going to react to the fact that he's just come back? So Cole arrives at the venue after seeing flyers for it, and he kidnaps her and basically forces her to drive to Philadelphia because he can't drive, basically, because the virus happened when he was a kid. So he never learned to drive. And he's essentially also searching for Jeffrey Goins, who he believes is he knows is the founder of the Army of the 12 Monkeys. Wait. Oh wow, this skips a lot of stuff in the synopsis.
Did it really skip?
I mean, it did skip a lot of things. Like, okay, so they're driving to Philadelphia, and you just get more indication that Cole is not actually crazy. Like the story with the kid stuck in the tube on the radio, and what's his name? Cole is like tells Rayleigh like the kid's lying. He's in a barn. It's a hoax. And essentially, we're skipping a lot of things, but the film goes on, and he meets Goins, and basically Goins says that Cole had the original idea to wipe out humanity with a virus stolen from Goins' father, who's a virologist, played by Christopher Plummer, with a southern accent, Dr. Leland Goins. And right after Cole like disappears again, like in front of not in front of, she wasn't looking at him, but he was there for a second, and then he was gone as the police were coming to get him. Right as that happens, like she goes back to her normal life, but then like all of a sudden the kid is found that was supposedly stuck in the pipe, and like lo and behold, he was just hiding in a barn. So she's like, what are the chances that he knew that he was faking it and he knew that he was in a barn? So she's like kind of shook by this, and she also, obviously there's like other things throughout that don't make sense about how it's possible that this guy is who he isn't who he says. Like, how did he escape that mental asylum, like, inexplicably? How did he just disappear when the police were after him? So this is all making her a little bit uneasy, but I think maybe you should talk about what you think about this.
Yeah, I think it's all of these kind of
Oh,
all of these occurrences and uh, things that Cole is able to predict accurately that makes her, her start to believe him, and I think it's what allows. I think that we start to see kind of a development of their relationship in the film.
yeah, and so after Cole disappears, Rayleigh begins to doubt her diagnosis, and there's some great dialogue where she talks to one of the other doctors, an older male doctor from the mental asylum, and she's like, he says that 5 billion people are gonna die like next month. Like, who's to say he's not lying? Like, how did he know about the barn? And she makes like a good metaphor where she's like, I don't remember exactly how it goes, but she compares psychiatry to like a faith, and that in this faith they're a part of, they get to decide what's right and wrong, and like they get to decide who's crazy and who's not, and she's fallen from the faith. And I like that dialogue scene a lot. And also, she gets a call from the cop. See, it sort of, the synopsis skipped over this, but he had got shot when he went back to World War One, and he had a bullet in his leg.
Right.
And Dr. Rayleigh took the bullet out of him, but like gave it over to the police. So the police call her, and they're like, "Do you want to revise your statement, because this is ammunition from like the early 20s or late 10s of the 20th century." And then this basically is sort of the climax kind of her saying throughout the film another thing the synopsis has missed. Like, she's been saying like, I swear I've seen you somewhere, I feel like I've known you before. She keeps saying that, and then she looks through all her papers of this like book she'd been researching for like the Cassandra effect, and she sees Bruce Willis's character Cole talking to Jose back in World War One. So this is kind of like a big like,
it's a turning point.
Yeah, and it's a big shock. But she basically now knows that he's real.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a big moment in the film, especially the bullet. Okay. So now, where are we?
So it's basically Cole's back in the modern day, talking to there's a hilarious scene where he wakes up and he's looking at a beach supposedly, but it's just an upside down painting of a beach, and all the scientists are there like singing a barbershop quartet because he said that he liked the music of the 1990s or something. And it's like a really, really weird and funny and quirky, and I love this scene. And he basically is starting to doubt whether he's actually crazy, because he's kind of like traumatized, I guess. And he convinces himself that his future experiences are hallucinations, and persuades the scientists to send him back again. Rayleigh attempts to settle the question of Cole's sanity by leaving a voicemail on the number he provided, creating the message the scientist played prior to his second mission. So it's sort of going back to things that happened earlier in the film. They both now realize that the plague is real and make plans to enjoy the time they have left. They decide to depart for the Florida Keys before the start of the plague. So Cole gets sent back, but he's stopped doing his mission. He just wants to go with this girl now.
Yeah.
And the synopsis didn't say, but it is the girl from his dreams that he's been having since he was a kid.
Right. Yeah. So he kind of knows that um his fate ultimately he's gonna be like a significant. She's gonna be a significant part of his life through those dreams. And it's interesting because Cole is kind of throughout the first half of the film, he's being kind of gaslit to think that he's crazy by everyone else, and now at this point he knows that this is not true and that the plague is real, and Rayleigh also knows this now. So I think this might be kind of a big this is a big turning point in the film.
Yeah, and so the synopsis doesn't really go into too much detail, but Cole and Rayleigh learn that the army of the 12 monkeys was not the source of the epidemic. They're cutting out some stuff, but the group's major act of protest is releasing animals from a zoo, and they place Goins' father, the virologist who made the virus, in an animal cage. So it's just a misconception that the army of the 12 monkeys, quote-unquote, did it. They really meant they did the zoo break right before the virus happened. And so this is kind of a redemption arc for Jeffrey's character. He's just like this crazy child of this really rich guy that is basically like an animal rights fanatic. And I really loved the imagery of like the elephant going around Baltimore, or like the lion again. And I should say, like, before these scenes, there's a bunch of repetitive imagery of the bear and the lion and him going back in that department store and hearing the Christmas music and looking up at the thing and hearing the birds and stuff. So there's all that like peppered throughout that feels like the whole world is coming to a head right now. Do you have anything about this?
No, I mean, I agree with everything you said, and I think it's a big twist, I would say, to realize that the 12 monkeys are not they weren't the ones who started the epidemic. And again, I think it adds to the surrealism, seeing the animals are going around Baltimore, especially the elephants. It's very it feels dreamlike, but at the same time, that is actually that's the truth. Now that we know it's not, this was what they were trying to do all along, the army of the 12 monkeys.
Yeah, and the synopsis doesn't talk about it, but in my opinion, one of the finest scenes is when they watch Vertigo. And
yes,
it's essentially mirroring what's happening to Cole. And I really like that they're basically making disguises for themselves so they can leave the city. And you realize that she's dyed her hair blonde just like the dream, and he's the long-haired guy that gets, I don't know if we have seen it, but he gets shot.
Yes, and it's I mean, I don't want to spoil Vertigo for anyone who hasn't seen it, because that is quite a great film, but the thematic elements of, like, well, specifically the dreamlike nature of Vertigo, and the fact that, like, the concept of this being true all along, I think that kind of is similar from Vertigo to 12 Monkeys.
Right, so they go to the airport, and like immediately Cole is like, I've been here before, and there's sort of like a a bit of a tension that starts building as soon as he says that this is the airport he's been seeing in his dreams since he was a kid. And he basically leaves a last voicemail to telling the scientists that they are on the wrong track, following the army of the 12 monkeys, and that he will not return. He is soon confronted by Jose, an acquaintance from his own time, who gives Cole a handgun and instruction to complete his mission. And then, like, sort of the dream becomes unstable, where this minor character, Dr. Peters, who you've kind of seen throughout in the background, comes to the airport, and Rayleigh recognizes him from a newspaper as the assistant of the virologist who made the virus. Peters is about to embark on a tour of several cities that match the viral outbreaks chronologically and geographically, and this list of the cities was repeated earlier in the film by Cole, sorry. And it's a bit eerie. So we're getting a phone call right now, but I don't know how to answer the phone. Let me try. Hello? Yeah, sorry to whoever's calling. I don't know how to answer the phone, but I apologize for that. And, where was I? Yeah.
Dr. Peters.
Okay, yeah, and then Dr. Peters goes through security, and he's like, the TSA guy is like, you gotta open this stuff up. What is this? And he's like, they're biological samples. And there's this scene where he opens it, and he puts it near the guy's nose. And in my opinion, it's ambiguous whether the guy was infected or not.
Yes, it is. Like, that scene was very... like, I would have expected, honestly, him to, like, be infected immediately and have that kind of manifest in the scene, but it didn't really happen in the movie, so it went kind of against my expectations there.
And this is why I think it's ambiguous whether the future can be changed or no. Because if the guy was infected, then there's nothing Cole can do. If the guy wasn't infected, then he still had a chance to kill Peters at the end of the film. That's why I say it's left open.
That's a good point, and we can discuss that theme more after we get through the whole plot.
Yeah. So Peters is about to embark on a tour. Oh, I already said that. Cole is... So basically, Rayleigh tells Cole that this is the guy that has the virus. And Cole is fighting through security and is fatally shot as he tries to stop Peters. Well, okay, this does a bad job of explaining it. Essentially the whole dream comes into motion, and you see all the visual clues come together, like the guy's briefcase with all the stickers on it. You see that. You see the kid, who is Cole, a young version. And then Dr. Rayleigh screams. He looks behind him right before he takes the shot and is shot. And this is why I kind of say Cole has a bit of a villain arc. I don't think he's a bad guy, but I think he, like, let down humanity in the end. Like, foolishly, he prioritized his own feelings above the mission. It's like a Jedi. What a Jedi is not supposed to do. He was so attached to the woman that he looked when she screamed. Even though the guy was right in front of him, he should have just taken the shot. That's the only thing that mattered. But he let his emotions cloud his judgment. Let's go to the Jedi code. And he kind of failed all of humanity. So in that moment, you kind of feel like he has, like, a bit of a villain arc.
That is true. Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a villain arc, but he's very flawed in that way.
Yeah.
So, yes. And then now, well, she's dead now. Or
Well,
he dies. Sorry.
the ending of the dream is Cole dies in Rayleigh's arms, and she makes eye contact with a small boy, the young James Cole witnessing his own death. The scene that will replay in his dreams for years to come. So this is a beautiful scene that actually got some emotional feeling out of me. And I think that's impressive in a dream movie. I think it's very impressive when you don't have like a super structured plot and you still can make people feel something. I thought this was beautiful that she locked eyes with like a young version of the man she loved, and it's also like a beautiful and haunting circle of James Cole's life. He's like in this trap forever. And yeah, it was like an acknowledgement for her that she knew who the boy was. She knew it was him.
Yeah, like you can. Well, the eye contact kind of. It's clear that she knows that was Cole, and it's a great visual cue.
And then the last couple scenes of the movie are very sus. They're very like, you don't know exactly what they mean. So Peters, the doctor, boards the plane with the virus, and like the passenger is the doctor, the female doctor from like the present day. And
Yeah.
she mysteriously says her job is insurance. So this can lead to a few different conclusions. Either like Cole is genuinely crazy and he's like populating his dream with like people he sees, like Inception, right?
Mm.
He's just like putting people in that he's seen before. Or what if the scientists like paired up with Peters on that flight, and like they're involved in the extinction of humanity, and they did it to like take control of the world and the remaining human population?
Those are very interesting ideas. I never really thought about that. But I think at this point, like for me, when I watched the ending scene, the main theme here was fatalism, which I know that you disagree, and you think that that the future can be changed, or that you can change the future through time travel, but I still hold to the opinion that that this movie is fatalistic in terms of the plot. So we can, if we finish the plot now, we can definitely talk more about these themes.
Well, we gotta talk about the last shot is a young Cole getting in a car with his parents, and he looks up in the sky, sees the plane leaving. The film ends on his eyes again. So the film starts and ends with his eyes, and
Yes.
yeah, it's a sad ending for the kid, because he seems like helpless.
It's very sad. But it's kind of a perfect shot to end the film, because we know now everything that happened in Cole's life, and that it kind of the plot is literally a circle at that point, because he goes it goes back to Cole as a child.
Yes.
And obviously Cole does not know young Cole does not know what's going to happen.
Yes. Okay. So, what should we talk about now? We got about 10 minutes.
Well, we can talk about this film, like, let's talk a little bit about the background of, like, the year this film came out,
Yeah.
etc. So, the movie came out in 1995, which was a big year for movies. I think a lot of our a lot of our favorite movies, and some of the really great movies came out that year, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Oscars right now. I don't know if you've seen Dead Man Walking.
I haven't seen it, no.
Great film. Casino, great film. Usual Suspects, great film. 12 Monkeys, great film.
Yeah.
What were the other ones?
We have Seven, Heat,
7. Yeah.
Toy Story as well.
Yeah. I've also seen Sense and Sensibility. That's a great film. It's definitely a great film. I saw it a bit ago. I've never seen Braveheart, but it definitely, there's a lot of great films in here.
So yeah, it is. This came out in a year where people were seeing one hit after the other. But
just like today.
But I think interestingly, 12 Monkeys isn't quite as popular or well known as those other films. I think it honestly deserves more credit than it gets.
I agree. It's I think that as a dream movie, it's like at the top for me, like nearly at the top of what I consider to be a great dream film, like Mulholland Drive, Blue Velvet, amongst others. I mean, Eyes Wide Shut is like not really a dream film, but a dream film at the same time. It's not super surreal. It's just got some elements of like things not adding up, and the character going on like a very weird adventure.
Yeah, I would say Vertigo is also like that in a way. It's not a literal. It feels like a dream while you're watching it, but then, well, I don't want to spoil the film, but yeah, it's a very dreamlike movie.
Yeah. Also, I think that what this film does most brilliantly is both like as a dream movie and just a regular movie, it just like peppers the plot full of like little details that really sort of are fully expressed when you rewatch, and it's just really wonderful in every way. You got some like comedy to light your spirits up, and you got little details that come back and kind of make you question what the film's really about and question reality slightly. And it's just an enjoyable process. Oh, here's one thing I did want to talk about. You know what I can't really ever explain? Why do some dream movies work and some don't? Why is it that when I watched After Hours, I really disliked it, but when I watched this, I love it? I know why I don't like Eraserhead. I can explain that because I just don't like the style. I think the style is really gross and ugly. And it just like, it wasn't disturbing in a way that interests me. It just was like a kind of like nasty film. And you know, nasty from time to time can work too, but that film I just didn't like mainly due to the style. But why is it that I can like fall in love with this film, but when I watch After Hours, which is like the same sort of dream film with like little details and repetitive visual imagery that like keeps popping up, like it's the same exact concept, but why when I watch this I like it and when I watch After Hours I just don't connect at all? I have no real answer.
I think it might be just because dream movies are meant to be, well, dreams are very nonsensical, and it sort of just relies on our, well, while watching a dream movie and forming, liking or disliking it just relies on our own instincts and emotions towards the film, and not really any rational kind of like, you can't really intellectualize them in the same way as a non-dream film. So I can
Right.
see why you wouldn't like Eraserhead, just because that style is not appealing to you. But in a way, it's kind of hit or miss. I'd
Right.
say whether you like a dream film or not.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, but like the over intellectualization of film is like the death of film, and I think for dream movies it's even more so true,
Agreed.
because
Yes.
dream movies are really only meant to be felt. So
Yeah, exactly.
you,
Um,
you over explain them, they just die on the operating table.
yeah. Okay, and then we wanted to talk about fatalism versus free will and the ability to change
Mm-hmm.
the past, or change the future and present, really. Um, in my opinion, this film is clearly fatalistic. It's just like the Prisoner of Azkaban type time travel, where everything is already fixed, and there's really that was kind of how it was all along, and the character realizes that
Yeah.
towards the end.
Right.
But I do agree with your point, regarding the sniffing of the virus, and the person not, the effect on that person not being clear. That kind of does suggest some sort of, ability to change things.
I think both The Prisoner of Azkaban and this movie are like fatalistic on its surface, but ultimately in The Prisoner of Azkaban they do change the future. They just don't realize they've done it in the present.
Well,
They
yeah,
do.
I mean, it's
They help Sirius escape. They just don't know, and they save Buckbeak. They don't know, because when you watch the movie and the executioner hits the Buckbeak's head, it cuts away, and
Right.
he hits a pumpkin.
right, but it was always the case that it was a pumpkin, but
They
we
just
don't
didn't
know
know.
it. Yeah, exactly.
But
So,
they still saved him.
no, well, this is kind of going into the. I mean,
And then in
from
this
their
film,
point of view, they did, but it's still fatalistic in my opinion.
this film, it allows you to be fatalistic, where you can say like it was inevitable that he was always going to miss, or not take the shot or whatever on the guy. But I don't think that's true. I think that he clearly had an opportunity to take the shot, but he let his emotions cloud his judgment. I just keep going back to Star Wars.
It's a very good analogy to use there. Yeah, and I mean, I think that, you know, while the question of whether or not there is free will ultimately doesn't matter in this movie, because, Cole is acting as if he has agency the entire time,
Yeah.
and
And
clearly
like,
he made a
look,
mistake.
he starts to defy the scientists at the end. He takes out his teeth, because that's supposedly how they bring him back. Another very quirky detail. And he just resolves to go out and run away with this woman. So he does make decisions that are not part of the mission.
Yeah, and I think, and that's a very striking parallel to Vertigo, actually, because in that movie, a man falls for a woman, and that ultimately, it leads to his destruction. So,
Adam and Eve.
Yeah. I think this movie actually does, I'm sure Terry Gilliam took that as an influence. So.
For sure. This whole concept is the plot of many Twilight Zone episodes and Vertigo and other films. It's like a film, I don't say cliche in a negative way. I mean, it's an archetype.
Yeah, it's an archetype, and it's not cliche in the sense that it's trite. It's just it's an archetype applied in a very unique way.
All right, so we're at the 55-minute mark, so we got to get off the air. But thank you for coming, RB, and
It's okay.
I want to say goodbye.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, guys. I'm actually gonna be not here next week, so we'll have a sub. But I might just record. I think I'll record a show and play it. So for you watching, you won't know the difference. All right. See ya.